Mishnah 3. Okay, so the previous Mishnah, we had a machlokes, an argument to Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, as to when Yontif falls out on Shabbos and you want to go to the mikveh yourself or put your kelim in a mikveh, your utensil in a mikveh to purify them before Yontif. We had an argument by Beis Shammai, Beis Hillel, what you can do on Shabbos and what you have to do even from before Shabbos. The Mishnah Gimel says like this: "V'shavin shemashikin es hamayim b'kli even lataran." But both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that you can do hashaka, which we'll explain in a second what that means. You can do hashaka on water that's impure, in a stone vessel to purify them. However, you cannot immerse the utensil to purify it on Shabbos. Now, what that means is like this: we're talking about water that became impure, and there is a process by which you can make water pure. You cannot do to other liquids, and that's called hashaka. Hashaka literally means kissing, where you take water, the tamei water, and you connect it to mikveh water, and by connecting it to the mikveh water, it comes out now that the tamei water in the vessel becomes buttle, it becomes nullified, it loses its own identity and becomes like the mikveh water. And now that it becomes mikveh water, it becomes tahar. So that is a process that you can do it. You can do. Everybody agrees. Both Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree. You can do that on Shabbos. Okay. So let me just read it to you how they explained it. An open container of water that is tamei is lowered into a mikveh until the water in the container slightly touches the water in the mikveh. Through touching the mikveh water is transformed into part of the mikveh and thus becomes tar. So that's the process of hashaka. Okay, and for purifying the water. Okay, so everybody agrees that you can do that on Shabbos. Everybody agrees you can do it on Shabbos, even Beis Shammai. Okay, now. That would mean that if everybody agrees, that has to mean that we said before that if there's any kind of problem of doing tevilah, even Beis Hillel said the kelim is supposed to be done before Shabbos. And what was the problem? Because since the utensil before, let's say, couldn't be used because it was tamei, couldn't be used to hold truma, couldn't be used to hold carbon meat, and now that you put it in the mikveh, you purified it, now it's usable, that resembles like you're fixing something. And therefore the Chachamim said you can't do that. However, by hashaka, everybody agrees that's not going to be an issue. No one's going to look. You don't look at it as you don't see. Chazal said we don't look at people wouldn't look at it as fixing something because, in essence, it's not like you fixed the water. It actually lost its identity. It became something else. That's the whole point of hashaka. This tamei water became mikveh water, became something else. Once it becomes something else, therefore, you can't. It's not compared to repairing utensil. Utensil is the same thing that got fixed, but the water here is not fixed. The point here, the water is that it's lost its identity and became part of the mikveh. Therefore, does it resemble fixing? And therefore, everybody agrees that you would be able to go ahead and do that you could do the hashaka on Shabbos. On Shabbos. Now, the thing is that the Mishnah specified that you have to do it b'kli even. You have to do it in a stone utensil. Can't do it in a wood utensil. You do it in a stone utensil. Why is that? That's because a stone utensil is not susceptible to tumah. Any other utensil is. Now, by rabbinic law, liquids that are tamei can make a vessel impure. That's according to that's a dindar, that's a rabbinic law that we've had a number of times before. Now, so if let's say you go ahead and you have this tamei water and you put it into a wooden vessel, you have made the wooden vessel impure, right? Now you want to make that. So that means that means you have the tamei, you have the water that's tamei, you have the vessel that's tamei, right? Now, you clearly want to make that vessel pure, right? Yeah. Because if you wouldn't make the vessel pure theoretically, then by making the water pure, but then taking it out of the mikveh in a utensil that's impure, you're not going to accomplish anything. So you want to purify the vessel too. So you'll say, okay, what's the big deal? The same way I put it into the mikveh to perform hashaka, I put it into the mikveh to make the vessel pure. But that's a problem because you're not supposed to immerse vessels in a mikveh to make them pure on Shabbos, according to everybody. Therefore, and that's what it means when the Mishnah says of a loy matpilin, but you can't be toivel, you can't immerse in the mikveh. It means to say, just because we're allowed to go and do the hashaka in the mikveh on Shabbos, that doesn't say, okay, so now you can go ahead and purify the vessel and toivel and immerse the vessel too, which what you'll be doing at the same time. That you can't do. That part of the decree that the Chacham, that sages made not to be toivel on Shabbos a vessel isn't going to go off just because you're trying to do hashak at the same time with the impure water in it. Therefore, the Mishnah says, what kind of vessel do you use? Kli Evan, a stone vessel. That doesn't become tamei from the water. Stone vessels don't become tamei. And therefore, that would allow you to be able to cover everything that you want to get done. Then the Mishnah says, Umatbila migav legav mechabura lachabura. Another thing that you'd be able to, if you wanted to actually, in this case, be toivel, immerse a vessel in a mikveh, and you want to do it, and it was a case of doing it on Shabbos, which is Erev Yantif. If the case was that you were immersing from migav legav, which means from purpose to purpose, or from level to level. Now, what that means is like this. The utensil had been immersed before Yantif for the purpose of using it with truma. Okay, that was your intention. You went ahead and you immersed it before Yantif for the purpose of using it with truma. Okay, now it's Yantif itself. Now again, this prohibition of toiveling the vessel both on Shabbos and on Yantif. Okay, the point would be that you could. The point is that certain things you're able to do on Shabbos or on Yantif. Now in this case, you were toivel the vessel for the purpose of using it for truma. Then on Yantif, you decide, you know what? I want to use it for a carbon. Now, carbon is a level higher of sanctity than truma. And therefore, actually, if you want to use this vessel was put in the mikveh, was purified for truma purposes. And now you want to use it for a carbon for sacrifice meat, you actually have to be toivel it again. You have to be toivel it for the purpose of using it for the higher level of sanctity. You have to do it. Nonetheless, you can still do it on Yantif. Why? Because it's not like it wasn't usable before. It was usable before. I could use it for truma. Now I want to be able to use it for something else. I want to use it for a carbon, for sacrifice meat. In that situation, we say that doesn't resemble repairing because it was usable before. And therefore, you'd be able to actually toivel it on Yantif. Okay? And the other case is mechabur lachabur, from group to group. Now, that means like this, explained in the following way. Okay, someone immersed a tamei utensil before Yantif for the purpose of using it to eat the Pesach offering with one group of people, right? When you eat a carbon Pesach, you designate yourself as part of a group, and that's who you eat with, all right? So before Pesach, he had a group that he designated, and he immersed the tamei vessel to eat the carbon Pesach with that group. He then changed his mind and decided to join a different group, which, as long as you do that before you shech the carbon Pesach, you're okay. It is not necessary for him to immerse the utensil a second time. Because I'm changing groups doesn't mean I now have to put it in the mikveh again. Because originally I intended for group A, now I'm going to group B. Do I have to immerse do I have to put the vessel again in the mikveh, like the case before, from going from truma to a carbon? The answer is no, I don't have to. Therefore, it says here, if he wants to go beyond the requirements of the law and immerse it again, he decides he still wants to go beyond the letter of the law. He wants to immerse it again because he's going into a different group. You do that on Yantif. Because why? Because again, the immersion doesn't really do anything. Put in the mikveh doesn't really change its status. And therefore, since it doesn't really change its status, even though he's doing it to go beyond the letter of the law, because it doesn't change its status really in any way, it doesn't resemble fixing, and therefore to be able to be toivel, like you can actually immerse it on Yantif. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi. So no issue.